influx of federal money into the infrastructure market has a huge impact on the clients. Because when you think about the parties in the construction industry, it's all about the backlog. Where is the work coming from? What work will be available? And when you think about the state of infrastructure in the New England market in particular, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on roads, bridges, tunnels, all sorts of civil work and vertical work as well. So it has a big impact because the clients are planning for what's coming so they can staff and allocate their resources accordingly. For a firm that works in the private sector entering the government or public contracting sector, there are really four major differences and things they need to be prepared to address. The first is the public bidding in all states in New England. There are rules and regulations that govern how the bids are submitted, how the bids are reviewed, and that private contractor entering the public space really needs to get familiar with those rules and regulations and follow them strictly. The second is there's a limited opportunity, if any opportunity at all, to negotiate contract terms and conditions. Public agencies will not negotiate a single term of that contract, so you're sort of stuck with the terms and conditions as proposed by the owner. And this leads really to the next area that the private contractor has to really be in tune with, which is those public contracts all have very specific provisions that deal with change orders with respect to scope changes in the work, unforeseen site conditions, and schedule extensions. And the public agencies are very, very much in tune with what those provisions require. So the contractor has to follow them to the letter if they want to reserve their right to recover or get a schedule extension. There's also additional scrutiny in the public sector with respect to cost and claim submissions, because unlike in the private sector, in the public sector, the False Claims Act applies, right? And every state has its own version of the Federal False Claims Act. So contractors have to be very careful with respect to their cost accounting and how those claims are being submitted to make sure they don't run afoul of those rules. One of the biggest issues facing the industry right now is both supply chain and material price escalation. In the wake of the pandemic, the lead time for a lot of crucial materials and products for projects has gone way out. So the contractors need to be very, very conscious of how those supply chain issues are going to affect their ability to deliver the project on time. And what that means is you really have to have heightened attention on certain contract clauses that you'll be relying on to get the schedule extension or get the additional reimbursement for material prices that have gone through the roof since the time the contract was entered into. Some contracts have a material escalation clause. Most public contracts do not. So in that case, the contractors really have to rely on the force majeure clauses in the contract, acts of God, situations that are outside of their control. My advice to companies that are entering the public space who typically work on private projects is, connect with your industry associations, your AGC, ABC, SIM, and UCANE, and learn from other contractors who have had much more experience in the public sector. And those associations provide you with a very good opportunity to do that. Also, of course, it's really important to have trusted, experienced construction counsel to help you navigate what you're going to be dealing with in terms of new situations in public contracting that you may not have dealt with in the private sector.